Welcome back to Objective 9 in Chapter 4 of our 3A1 series. This will be the last objective for this chapter, and in this objective we'll explain a typical water and gas temperature profile through a large steam generating unit. So we've been referring to this steam generating unit schematic throughout this chapter, and now we can just go back to the very beginning of it, taking a look at all of the parts that we talked about previously, but now mentioning what the temperatures are as a summary. So hopefully, if you've been paying attention to this schematic, we've almost memorized all these numbers already, and that will set us up in very good stead for this objective. So starting at the feed water end, our cool boiler feed water is entering into and passes through our economizer. In the ideal world, the economizer is going to output the temperature to within 10 to 20 degrees of saturation. However, in the example on screen here, it's showing our temperature of the water exiting the economizer at 280 degrees Celsius versus the saturation temperature in the drum at 320 degrees Celsius. From here, our steam is going to pass through our superheater, where it's then going to be raised to 538 degrees Celsius. From here, our steam enters into the high pressure section of the steam turbine and will now exit at the end of the high pressure stage of our steam turbine. During the expansion, the steam is going to expand in volume, reduce in temperature and reduce in pressure. So it's now extracted at the end of the high pressure stage and brought back into the boiler and to pass through the reheater. The reheater is now going to raise the temperature back up to 538 degrees C, but it will be at a lower pressure. This steam will now re-enter the beginning of the intermediate pressure stage of our steam turbine and will now expand through the remaining intermediate and low pressure stages. From here, that steam would now be exhausted and would then come back via the condenser. Now, looking at the flue gas side, our flue gas is going to be exiting from our combustion zone where our furnace is and passing over our waste heat recovery devices until we get out to the stack. So please note the stack temperature here, 170 degrees C, is a typical stack temperature. And remember, we have to stay above this value in order to reduce the likelihood of forming dew point corrosion. The air exiting the air preheater is around 350 degrees C prior to entering in as primary, secondary and tertiary air. Okay, so in terms of the water temperature profile to look at first then, which is where the textbook first starts, it refers to the diagram on figure 35 of your textbook on page 33. Now I do apologise, but on my screen here it's a little bit fuzzy just because it didn't sort of keep its resolution when I increased the size to the slide. But if you can refer to your figure 35 in your textbook, you'll be able to see it much more clearly. Now, in terms of where our feed water is going to go around this loop, what we're basically looking at is the Rankine cycle for our steam boiler and the turbine. So where we'll pick up our water here is at the deaerator. So from the deaerator, which is an open low pressure feed water heater, our water is going to be deaerated where oxygen and carbon dioxide is going to be removed. From here, it will pass through a series of pumps, in this example a condensate booster pump, and then pass through a series of feed water heaters. And these are going to be on the upside of the boiler feed water pump, or I should say on the upstream side. They're going to be low pressure feed water heaters. Now on the downstream side of the boiler feed water pump, they are high pressure feed water heaters. These are simply usually regenerative feed water heaters that are going to be basically heating up that feed water in gradual steps to get closer and closer to the saturation temperature that's occurring in the steam boiler. From here, after it passes out of our last feed water heater, it will then pass into the economizer and away we go through the boiler. Now you'll notice here that there are temperatures and pressures indicated on this diagram. I wouldn't worry too much about the pressures because these are going to be dictated by the operating pressure of the boiler. But once again we can see our flow paths of our steam from the steam drum to the superheater to the turbine, back to the reheater and then back to the turbine that we talked about on the previous slide. From here, the steam is exhausted at the at the end of the low pressure stage, and then from here, it will now go down and through into our condenser. The condenser is going to operate at a pressure below atmospheric, and from here it's now going to rejoin into the feed water train where it's going to be taken back as condensate. Any air that's been entrained into the condensate will be removed, and it will now pass through a series of low pressure feed water heaters until finally getting back to the deaerator, and around we go again. Now, something is missing from this diagram, and that is certainly that there is no place indicated for make-up water to join the system. We will typically be recycling about 95% of our condensate, but we'll still need to make up small amounts with make-up water. Well, this would typically enter prior to the deaerator stage here. Okay, now the sort of more common temperatures to be asked at can be found on the diagram for our gas temperature profile that's shown here in your textbook on figure 36. And this has been really the one that I've been referring to with my little version of the steam generating unit schematic. So from this diagram example, the temperatures that they typically like to ask you about is, first of all, what is the typical temperature in the furnace? And we can see this one for a subcritical boiler burning, say, coal. We're talking about 1650 degrees C. So we're above the point here of thermal NOx being generated, and that's why a lot of these boilers have either SCR or NSCR systems fitted to remove the NOx. Other temperatures that they like to ask about are our stack temperatures, 170 degrees C typically in the stack, the air exit temperature from our air preheater, 350 degrees C. Then they of course like to ask about the reheat and superheat steam temperatures, and they are both the same at 538 degrees C. Those are probably the most common ones that are going to be asked in exam type questions. However, anything on this diagram is a fair question, so in the ideal world you will memorize all of these temperatures. I know that's difficult, however, you never know what you're going to be asked on the exam. If it's in the textbook, it can be on the exam. Also, for those moving on, this could be a typical diagram to be asked to be drawn in 2A3 if they're asking you to show the typical layout of a large steam generator and indicate the paths for steam and flue gas, as well as the temperatures. Fairly typical standard question. By now, hopefully you've looked at enough of these diagrams to recognize the layout and also know the order in which these components are laid out in with regards to our flue gas path. Okay, so that's really it for Objective 9. Just memorizing really the gas temperature profile temperature diagram, and not so much of a important one after that, but the water and steam temperature profile located in figure 35. In my experience with these sort of questions, virtually all the questions you're likely to see are going to come off figure 36. But again, as I've said, if it's in the book, it's theoretically a fair game question. All right. Let's take a look at then some questions that you might be asked for typical temperature profile questions. So for a first one, on a large steam generator, what is the typical stack temperature? 350, 320, 280 or 170? Well, hopefully you recognize it from the previous diagrams we've been looking at throughout this chapter, and it's 170 degrees C. One of the reasons why we maintain and monitor our stack temperature when we're doing rounds is that, first of all, it's an indication of boiler efficiency, and second, we want to ensure we stay above our dew point temperature, because if we start to condense in our stack, we can get acidic corrosion. Next, on a large steam generator, what is the typical furnace temperature? So this is always going to typically relate to coal-fired furnaces for questions like this, and it's straight off the diagram figure 36. And this one, in the radiant zone of our furnace at the bottom where our fireball is, we're talking around about 1650 degrees C. But it can go as high as 2000 degrees C. Next one. On a large steam generator, what is the typical superheated steam temperature? Very common question and asked throughout this textbook almost, and certainly throughout a few chapters. The answer that we keep referring to is 538 degrees C. But as I've mentioned to you previously, just watch out, there are a couple of chapters in this book that say it's 540 degrees C. Well, 540, 538, much of a muchness. I've never seen a question with the options of 538 and 540 in the answer set, so it will be one or the other. Next one. On a large steam generator, what is the typical temperature at the top of the radiant section? Well, this is one of those odd one out type questions here. This is one of those ones that can often pop up just to catch you out because it's not a sort of main temperature that's sort of noted on our diagram. But if you take a look at figure 36, at the top of the radiant section, the only hint that we know is it's going to be less than 1650 as that's our furnace temperature. The answer for this one is 1100 degrees Celsius, and we can spot that on our figure 36 diagram as indicated between our radiant superheater and our reheater upon the roof of our radiant section. Next one. On a large steam generator, what is the typical flue gas temperature after the economizer? Again, this one's popped up before as well, and this is a little bit of a nasty one because again, it's another one of those temperatures that tends to not be remembered. But if you take a look at figure 36, we'll see that it's 380 degrees Celsius from the economizer. Don't forget, after the economizer, it's got to pass through the air preheater and then it will finally drop down to our stack temperature around 170 degrees Celsius. So there we go. There is the end of chapter 4. Fairly lengthy objective with a chapter with 9 objectives. And as always, at the end of the chapter, please ensure that you do your end of chapter questions from your textbook, the D2L chapter quiz, and then the D2L chapter assignment to check out the types of multiple choice questions you're likely to see. So, hopefully you enjoyed that one, talking about boiler heat transfer components. Give it a good review, make sure you're ready, and then when you're ready, let's move on and check out the next chapter. So, see you back soon.